Thanks for the message on the cup. This is the morning chat, you guys, where we try to digress and lose ourselves in the midst of the most common color known to man. Can we find something profound like gold? I bet we can. In the moment, I think that there's gold as well, but it's just like the truth. And if you can find the truth, then you can realize that no matter what happens, everything is just a matter of your ability to rationalize. Adjusting your attitude, understanding that if you falter that much to have to be reliant upon others, then maybe there is something to look up to, something to grab onto, grab a hold of, and pull yourself out of the mess that you've gotten yourself into. This is what we try to dive into when we're just talking, just chatting. There's little moments, there's nuances within conversation and language. There's the ability to see beyond yourself when you connect with a word, something so universal and cheap that it almost seems meaningless at first. But from these things, we can understand that small things have a big impact on our lives, just like a small pebble rippling the waves on the water, perhaps changing the course of a fish. Maybe this fish gets caught. Eventually, somebody's got a meal, and a word is as powerful as that, but what words are the ones that we're trying to focus on? Maybe collateral damage is the best way to attack this problem, like focusing our conversation and language into some form of rhetoric which creates a bubble. Maybe something surrounds us, like we are a cell, we're in some giant body. And does a cell know the body well? Or is the cell just in the same place like we are, in competition for a place, in competition to be meaningful and be understood? I think that things, even on that perspective, are just in an attempt to be understood by things. What is the greater perspective beyond ourselves, and would we ever be able to see that? It is a conundrum. If we could connect with it, would we not feel like our position right now would be an advantage? But would we just be in another place where we see advantage and disadvantage? If we saw a larger body than our own, maybe the human psyche, the human consciousness, is just some lever, a mechanic of mechanical advantage, trying to constantly seek new things and understandings and see itself in a position of always lowered in place, like we're on some great elevator of the world, and life is just simply passing us by. As all the numbers on the floors reach 91, eventually we're coming to the end, we're gonna die. Maybe if we can see that life is an elevator, then we can push one of these buttons instead of just floating around in somebody else's head. We can create these images in our own instead. So are words important? You betcha. They can change our minds, they can make decisions, they can cause or disassemble war. Words are magic, in a sense. Nothing is more magic than being able to change something's mind. The ability to create nostalgia in something as if consciousness is a collective body which is always found in time, and that emotion is something which fits into every place. And its rhetoric allows us to see that if this consciousness exists, then why would we be focusing on this? We can focus on other things. Life can be many things. It can be full of challenges and subtle changes. The way we do our hair, to the way we turn our pages, and the books that we read, and the things that we see. That's the power of words. At least for me. I feel like these are all such great videos, guys. But it's just passing moments. You know, if I could only catalog everything that I've said that sounds efficient, sounds effective, sounds like it's coming from a head. Why would something coming from a head sound more great? Maybe it's because it's not necessarily this complex mechanic of a brain. It's something that has to do with a framework of your mind. It's just like a house that's built to hold space. And maybe your brain is just what's on the walls. Maybe it's the aura emanating from a place. And so it coming from a head recognizes silence instead of all the complexities and nuances. It's things that allow us to see great things. Like it's open like an eye, instead of being full off and closed and full of some essence which is incomplete, always seeking. No, we're actually really full, but in that moment, our mind is peaking. My head is full of air, it's full of space. It gives great room to everything that would wander around its place. And maybe an empty head is better than being filled with jelly instead. So in this empty place, I can identify with things far away from this place and somehow say that maybe my head is full of gold instead. I have no brain, you see. I connect with things that are distant to me. I can see and I can say that things in time, they change my mind. Maybe some word is what you'll find. What word would be in my head? Maybe it would be something like capital. The idea that this space holds some essence in place and it's public. It's like a computer where people go there to see what people are. Maybe then I can actually understand this experience from multiple perspectives. And as I change my mind, I am able to listen to people that wander through this space. And somehow the most profound things take their place. Anyways, I've rhymed space and place way too much in that one. But why can't I identify with having an empty head? You knock and it echoes. Does it really? Well, if I knock in the right place, maybe it's all in my head. Experience is just some globe. Maybe that's the earth itself. The idea that everything is empty, geometrically defined. It's just this giant, vast circle. That's truly what is the mind. Geometrical perfection. The spaces you see allow the lines themselves to be. I am plane, but being plane, I can fly. then the earth is small, and I can ask why. I don't have to fly from place to place. I can stay up in outer space. And that's truly what I think. I speak what I think. And I speak my mind so that maybe in some way I can find some identity, but maybe I'd be kicked out, you see, because the things that I identify with me, they also miss. Maybe that's the idea that you are not special. Does it create privacy? Then in a sense, you see. Because then in that place, we have no place, nowhere to go. Maybe then that's where we get identity from, though. I don't know. I honestly don't know, guys, but I can certainly sit here and spin on a dime. I can jump from branch to branch with all the words that I find. Maybe what you are is simply what you say. Then what am I in what way? Am I some monkey that is traversing through time like the world is some tree that I can climb? And in a way, I'm only primitive when I'm on the ground, because when I'm going from limb to limb to limb, it is profound. I'm intelligent, you see, because I'm built for the tree. I can travel its places. It seems like it's built for me. So in that way, I made a monkey somehow, something divine, something that's a wow, the wow factor. I'm not manufactured. I come with all these scars and pictures that are bars that somehow speak to me as I move through this tree. Them primitive things, they seem to sing until I get caught in some web that some spider drew instead. Then maybe the tree, it was a death to me. Somehow geometrical design caught me in time again. And now maybe I have to change, go back down to earth, seem like I'm primitive. Something before I saw glamour, right? So now I'm some primitive being. I'm like dirt, something. Maybe I'm gross and slimy. I'm full of pockets and holes that are filled with pustules. Maybe that's like what it's to be primitive, but then maybe I can be so sick, you see, that in some way I'm like the sun. How could that be? Because the sun radiates things, and the more profane that I become, the more that I'm like the sun, son. Because in a sense, the sun burns everything, it's toxic, but somehow that's where life does spring. And in a way, the sun is like the earth. In some way, it actually is like rebirth. It radiates, exemplifies, makes things feel high while being low. But again, I say again, what really do I know? I'm just a man caught up with words. And maybe words are all like shit. They simply mean nothing, and action really is what brings you closer. So then what am I? But doesn't shit itself even sometimes learn how to fly? And in a way, you're free from everything because you just go. And maybe you're like a little shit. And somehow you have no responsibilities with it. But then maybe that's like life. You see, you're actually some collective thing that has reasoning, and you're refined somehow by the body in time. And that's how you polish a turd, or at least how I polish mine. I'm Einstein, but with the rhymes. I draw literal equations, but it's A, B, C, D. But everybody gives me an F still, you see? Because it doesn't necessarily fit any narrative. It's somewhat broken, like broken English, like it's not my first language. It's the idea like words themselves are new, but then they mean more probably to you, because as soon as I can say them, then I can get things. But when words are old to you, it's like they're nothing. So maybe I try to come across the word from new perspectives, some way that's been unheard. And so maybe it sounds broken, it sounds incoherent. But in that way, maybe we can make an old language somehow like it's not just a play, it's actually how we pray, and the words work in this way. We can get things, accomplishments. Maybe all we have to know is the right words. Is it future or past tense? Anyways, that's how you can play with words, at least today. You guys really just enjoy this, huh? Just listening to me rhyme. Well, then maybe that's all I am. Maybe Dr. Seuss really is my man. Like the Cat in the Hat is somehow my best friend. He is present. Maybe I've got like some cat suit on. Maybe with the monkey I was wrong. And the tree, I'm cat-like, you see. And my hat is just this puffy hair. The idea of vanity. Vanity is here. And cats, they struggle with all sense of egotistical things because cats are selfish, they're self-righteous beings. And so there's nothing more to cause jealousy than hair. But at the same point in time, it basically is for nothing but to stare. It's like this hat on my head that I grow and keep. This hair that I have makes me seem neat, just like the cat in the hat. But maybe when the cat's naked and has no hair, then it's like, ooh, that's not pretty, it's a scare. So the cat struggles with vanity. That's why it avoids water, because it changes what you see. And in a way, maybe the cat can be majestic. It causes cancer. Yo, how would I describe words into meaning when it becomes a search of energy, but through the manner of faith it becomes all meaning, and faith, who I stand by, brings life meaning to me, my King Yeshua. For sure. I think, like I said in my little free verse, just barely, like you have to try to come across words as new, and think about it like you're trying to speak another language, right? Because initially, when you're in another community and you say a word, then you can get what you see. And so if you're able to come across any language like with some perspective that it's new, right? And so you can say the words that somehow maybe make just only sense to you. Yo, what's up, Brooker? Good morning. I think that that's the best way to intertwine faith and energy of things, and maybe how to proclaim like something with words. Just try to make sure that they don't become old. You keep them sharp. As they say, like, you have to stay sharp. And as they also say, like, you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, which just means that you're not keeping up with things. You're not trying to exercise. You have to exercise your abilities. You have a question? What's your question, Brooker? Agree? Yeah. Anyways, guys, I appreciate all the people that are here, and I hope that you're having a great morning. I just usually start off with some free verse poetry because nobody wants to just see a guy sitting there drinking coffee, So it's like you can come and listen and you don't have to participate, and it's somehow something that you feel like relates to your life. What is the difference between a mineral and a crystal? I think a crystal is a mineral. It's just different kinds. A different crystal is a different kind of mineral. Like minerals form crystals. But I think it's like different minerals form different crystals. I think that's what it is. So you just have to understand there's different crystals, which means that they're from different minerals. But a crystal is a mineral. It's just a different shape. It's like a crystal is defining an organization of an element. So when a mineral takes on a certain shape, that's called crystallizing. It means that it orients itself geometrically, basically. That's what it's called. In chemistry, you make crystals all the time. Like a lot of your products, you have to have them crystallized, which means they come out of solution. So usually you have like what's called a seed, which causes a chain reaction inside of a fluid. And as soon as that fluid crystallizes, the whole compound will begin to crystallize. But it's just a definition of how a chemical compound turns into a specific kind of shape on the like atomic level. On the atomic level, the compound takes on different attributes, and that's when it's called crystallizing. I had to do that in organic chemistry. We had to crystallize compounds. Yeah, clouds. Everyone loves the coffee shop though, so I try to come here. Thanks for the like, guys. Well, this is definitely it's right near my routine. I go to the gym, seriously, just like a block over. So it's just right next to the gym, so I can go to the gym and then come here. It's just on my way. Yo, thank you for the like. Yeah, I'm glad you guys chime in, you know what I mean? But don't feel afraid to say something. But like I said, it's just I go on these monologues, basically, at the beginning of my streams, because it's like when people are just joining, they want to see something going on. So I just provide these words that have rhythm to them. Yeah, it's like a place of free space, and it's public, and it's like everybody thinks of like a coffee break and stuff like that. I'm not sure what do you mean, Brooker? Anything at the channel? Are you talking about my channel, Good Theory? I'm gonna try to upload a video today. I'll try to upload a video today. We'll see how it goes. yeah, it's a place of free space, and people like the environment of it. You know what I mean? It's public, and you can get a drink and hang out. We can just hang out and talk, and it's kind of like that, you know. It's comfortable for everybody, kind of thing, because it's not made for just a specific person. It's like business, so people feel like there's something going on, you know, at the same time. All that stuff. Yeah, thanks, Pablo. I can tell you guys interesting scientific stuff if you want me to. So like when I was in college, I used to study what's called epigenetics. It was where like different genes, there's codes inside your body, and subtle changes in these codes that depict like how your body expresses genes. And I was studying epigenetics at college, and I had a scientific research paper where I was studying this gene called dipolypeptidase 4. And it had to do with Native Americans and how they had no wheat in their diet for like thousands of years or whatever. So they weren't accustomed to like digesting gluten, which made them all cause a lot of weight with like a lot of these foods that were being distributed, which was causing diabetes. I did work on that in college, and I had to like take people's spit samples, and you do what's called gel electrophoresis. And you take the DNA and you have to isolate the DNA with like a bunch of solutions. You take the DNA out of it, it like solidifies. And then you make these gel, it looks like just Jello, but it's clear, right? And then you put the DNA on one side and you hook it up to a machine, and it makes energy pass through it. And then you see the DNA come up in different spots. And if it comes up in the right spot, that means that they're expressing that protein or not. And you look at it under an ultraviolet light because you put on like a radioactive or a fluorescent protein on the gene. So then it fluoresces under ultraviolet light, and then you can see things. You can see genes, and if they have a gene or not. So I used to do that at school for a while. I got paid. I actually got paid to do that. Kind of crazy, huh? So I worked as a lab tech for like a year. But it just got too complicated. I was like, this is like, the people that were also working on the same thing as me were at like Harvard, and I was just like, this is getting like too complicated. And it's just like, I kind of had a falling out with science a little bit. I just thought like, I don't want my life to just be full of this one perspective of things. Like, just because something is true doesn't mean that you can't have a different perspective in life or a different focus. That other stuff can be true over there, but I would like to focus on this to have an experience in my reality where it's not just one spirit. And so I changed directions. I went into philosophy and linguistics at Utah State instead of Southern Utah University. So there's like some science madness for you. I used to have to calculate probabilities of an electron in an electron cloud to understand the energy level of the electron before it actually transferred itself to a different state, is what it's called. And it was like P1, P2, P3. Yo, what's up, Mr. Clone? How you doing? I like your, I even like your icon, man. That's sweet. I can tell you that image. For a while, I was fascinated with like sword play. So in that image that you have there, I have like a sword strapped onto my back. And it's like a giant, it's like a great sword. And I used to go and like practice, yeah, I'm your clone, right? I'm actually your clone. I used to go and practice like sword play in the woods. And sometimes, I'll tell you like a really cool story. I used to come across this buck, which is a deer. It's like an animal that lives in the wild, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're from somewhere else. So a deer is like an animal that lives in the wild, and they grow these, yeah, I'm the fake one, I know. I'm just an imitation, I'm the cheap knockoff. But so anyways, I'd take this sword and I'd go into the woods and there'd be a deer in there, a buck that was pretty big. And he would look at me and stare me down. And I would stare him down. And I always thought like one day he's gonna like charge at me and I'm gonna have to fight him with my sword. And it was like a real interesting experience, just like standing there. And I was kind of like it was kind of like an adrenaline rush because I would go there every time and just wait for him to like charge at me. And I had designated that I wouldn't protect myself with anything but a sword. So it was like fair. It was like a fair fight. Like I had to get him just by using pure skill. And for some reason I thought that that was like so cool that I could like limit myself and put myself in danger to do something with like more skill to like take something down. Play what? Poppy Playtime chapter 4. But yeah, I would go and stare down this deer with a giant sword and like I was waiting for him to charge. And like I used to do this for like a couple weeks out of like one summer. And the wind would blow and like all my clothes, I wore like long flowing clothes, kind of like you'd see in like some movie or something, and it would just like blow in the wind, and I'd be sitting there with my sword just like staring at this buck. And I was just waiting for him to charge me. But I don't know, it was kind of an interesting time in my life. I used to do rock climbing when I was in college. And I used to go on this path that the Indians showed me. So there's a group of Indians, and they're called there's Paiute Indians. And these Paiute Indians, they like showed me this trail up a mountain where it leads to this like rock that has a cliff on both sides of it if you go up over this certain part. And they were all like really extreme like punk kids. And so we would go on this dangerous route where we had to like climb up this sheer face, and on both sides it was just a drop off. You'd die. And I used to go rock climbing with them in the Red Mountains. They're called Red Cliffs because all the mountains are all red. It's the type of like sandstone they are. And for my training, I was like inspired by Goku from Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball. I'd wear like weight vests and I would go climb up this sheer cliff face. So I'd wear a weight vest and I would jog up to where the mountain began or the cliff began, and then I would climb up with weights on my body. But that's just crazy, insane like exercise. Like, trust me, there's a point in time when you can do too much exercise and stuff like that, or do things that are too dangerous, which is what I was doing. Free climbing, which I was doing, is like free solo climbing. It's dangerous. Don't do it. And especially don't put like weights on your body to just try to like train even harder because you saw it in like a cartoon. Because you're just like, oh, everybody else believes in crazy stuff, so why not? I'll believe in this too. You know what I mean? One day I'll just wake up and this will all just be a dream. And if that happens, you probably died or whatever because you fell off the cliff. But I used to go and do that all the time when I was a student. Like I'd do my research and then I'd go home and I'd go climb on some cliff faces. I've done that here too. It was pretty dangerous. One time I just went up the mountain and started climbing up a bunch of cliff faces. It was pretty stupid. I don't recommend it. But if you're like somebody who's like seeking danger, it can like satisfy that urge to like do something that's like dangerous. Because it's not really putting other people in harm, but you're just putting yourself at risk. And it, like when you do it, it's can be like kind of rewarding because you get super high and you're just alone by yourself. Yeah, for sure. It's hard to, you know what I mean? Like we all experience different things, and to an extent, it's like, that's just for you. You know, I understand that. Yeah, it's just for you, man. There's a lot of experiences that are like that. But you can climb certain mountains and you'll be higher than airplanes. Like a lot of the mountains that I've climbed, you get like a mile up or whatever basically, and you're higher than all the airplanes around. And airplanes don't fly over those mountains. So you can get like a real perspective of just like feeling like being a giant and everything's so tiny. you know, and like life has more meaning because it's dangerous and you could fall. But I used to do that all the time. I don't know why. I just had like this great like attraction to just doing like these dangerous things. Now it's like I'm super afraid. It's like I went from doing all that stuff by myself like every day, and now it's like I'm afraid. I'm afraid of being alone, and I'm afraid of the future. I'm afraid of what, you know what I mean? What's gonna happen if I can't make money? I'm afraid of all that stuff. It's like I'm climbing a mountain. It's like all of a sudden I climbed enough mountains that it's like life just became a mountain for me. That's all I can see is cliffs on every side. And this idea that I'm not going to be able to reach the top. It's scary. Life is scary. I think life is always scary. It's scary to everybody. What if you don't make it, you know? What if? So, I can tell you guys some more stories like, let's see. There are some stories I can't tell you guys though. You know? Some stories I just can't say. Probably some of the best ones. I'll tell you like a crazy thing I used to do. I used to just draw art, right? You know what I mean? Like stuff like this. I drew stuff like this kind of or whatever, but just like looked more childish like Picasso. I used to draw stuff like Picasso because I was like, okay, I don't have the skill to do like realistic art, but I can do things that are like super abstract and I can like apply meaning to it. So it's like very contrasting textures and ideas. Through your faith, Yeshua provides. I had a thought like that yesterday. I was like, what if I just believed? What if I just believed enough? And life really was like this thing of like coming from a perfect being, you know? I had that thought yesterday while I was driving. And I was just like, a lot of people feel like that, you know? Like it comes from this perfect being that just provides for you and you can have a relationship with this, and that's life. I don't know why, but my mind just thinks different kind of. It's like I can understand that, but I'm like very distant to like the idea of a creator and things like that. It's like I believe in chance, and I believe in something beyond understanding. You know, this thing that we're incapable of knowing, and that's sort of like what it is. People just like to think that life began with a spark. You know what I mean? It was just a spark of life, but even if you believe in that spark, then it's still a battle as to whether or not that thing is someone or something that, you know, it's just a very difficult, it's a difficult thing to like try to understand. You know, and why am I different? I find myself asking that all the time, like, why am I different? Why is this something that everybody else believes, but I have a hard time believing in it, you know? I ask myself that, like, am I just different? Like, do I really fit in? Like, you know, I just have a hard time, but it's like, and I try my best. I try my best to like say that richness is like divinity. And somehow richness is like just this organization of order, which allows for perfection. And that is perfection, and that's where all things come from, is this idea of freedom. You know? I sort of believe in something like that. Like the spark of life was just like order, and that great order is like something that listens, because it's almost blank. Yeah. Thanks, Pablo. You know, I had a thought like that yesterday, and I was like, I was like, what if I did? I was like, you know, can I have a relationship with this thing? You know what I mean? Like, can I? Because it seems like so many people do, you know? I'm much more just philosophical than anything else, you know what I mean? Like, I'm philosophical and poetic, kind of. Like, and there will always be order, you know what I mean? Like, order is a constant as well. It's just something that, like, is fundamental, which means the order has, like, always been there, I think, you know, so to speak. And so, is heaven a place that we can reach? I think so. You know, I really do. I really think so. If order is something that in eternity is an eventuality, and maybe it is all about what you believe, because in that place it's like a dream. It's like manifesting your understanding of things. And I think that that's why personal growth is so important, because with your understanding and your ability to express different ideas, you're able to experience different bodies or different environments, you know? So I think it's very important to try to learn, to try to grow, so that those structures can become bigger and more vast and hold more complicated ideas, which only heighten their experience, not only in this life, you know? Thank you for the like. God allows you to choose. Yeah, I think God is like free will. I think that God is pure choice, is what I think. I think God is pure choice, because it's like being able to see everything everywhere, you know what I mean, at the same time. I think that's what God is. It's like a speck, but somehow it's the biggest house you could imagine, or structure. As long as it inspires the idea of like freedom. Maybe I say it differently than you know what I mean? Maybe I say it a little differently. It's probably just because, you know, my brain is riddled with poetry and stuff. I rhyme too much and stuff like that, you know? Good morning. Good. Yeah. What? Yeah. Oh yeah?
It was my favorite.
I like it actually a lot.
I love it. It was my favorite, but my husband ruined it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, last year he went over a big snowbank and he was playing in it, and like in the mountains.
Yeah.
And he hit a big like rock ice cube and it like ruined my alignment.
Oh, really?
And like fixed it, and they told me it was like I took it to like three other like auto shops, and they told me it was gonna be like $20,000 just to
Oh, really? So you basically totaled it.
Yeah, so I just went and traded it, and so
Yeah.
I loved it though.
Yeah, I really do love it. I'm sort of like, I almost feel like I'm at the mercy of life, kind of, because it's like everything everything I have is like provided for me, you know. So I just have to. My goal is just to try to be the best person I can be, and just be loving and accept things, right?
Right.
Because it's like that's just my position. It's like things haven't worked out, so I'm just like, okay, well, what can I focus on? Just being like nice and listening. So my parents. It's my parents' Jeep, but they're just like, you can drive it because they got a cabin.
Okay.
And so they got it so that they could put tracks on it so they could go up to the cabin in winter.
Right.
But they're just like, you don't have a car, like you can drive it.
That's so nice.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but I really do love it. I'm like, oh, I feel like I can see like 360 around me so well.
That's what, like I felt like right now
Yeah.
I'm driving like my Honda Civic,
Yeah.
which I really love. It's like a new one. It's really drives very nice. It's very luxurious.
Yeah.
But I miss my Jeep. I miss like bouncing around.
Oh yeah, for sure. It feels definitely bouncing around. I understand
I love that. I miss like going over curves.
You feel more engaged.
I love. I had a Jeep Wrangler and it was like a sport, and I had a lift on it and huge big tires on mine.
Oh nice,
I
yeah.
loved it. And I had it like all like so beautiful.
That's why I'm putting all my chips into streaming or whatever. It's just like either I make it or I don't.
Yeah.
What is it? What's the saying? Get rich or die trying,
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? I'm just like, hey, if it happens, it happens. If not, then it's like I did my best,
Right.
kind of thing. But I don't know. I really am at the mercy of a lot of stuff, kind of just because a lot of things haven't worked out for me, and I kind of have a problem with like I think I've been fired 3 times.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like maybe I have a little bit of an ego that I need to work on, or like some sort of rebellious. I'm sort of rebellious. That's the manager of the coffee shop. He's talking to me. Yeah, you guys, I gotta really work on being like humble and just like trying to understand that I can change my attitude because I'm in a. That's cool, yeah. I'm kind of known here because I just come here and stream, so they kind of know me a little bit. Because I come here every day, like twice a day to stream, so.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they kind of know me. I talk with them and chat with them and whatever, you know. But so it's been about 50 minutes, guys. My coffee's almost gone. I gotta go and I gotta work on some editing and I have to try to understand editing better. It's like, to me, editing is such a process that it just seems like to get something that seems like good on screen, it takes so much skill. It's like a very difficult skill to learn is how to like edit things so people enjoy watching the video. And it's not just like raw footage or whatever, it's tough. But I think I'm gonna end the stream. So I appreciate everybody joining and everybody who chimed in, you know, and made it seem more comfortable for other people watching and like there's stuff going on here. Like I appreciate it. If any of you ever hear anything that I say that seems like it just clicks and makes things sound right, you can like clip the videos and save those on playlist or something like that. You know what I mean? Like let's make this a journey together. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna head out and I'll see you next time.